Welcome to Dark Sites, the channel that explores the world of government, military and commercial dark sites extant, abandoned or demolished. But before we begin with today's episode, don't forget to like, comment and subscribe. Today's episode, Widmouth Bay, Sand, Surf and Spies. It's fair to say most of the visitors to Widmouth Bay don't pay much attention to the pole with a yellow diamond-shaped sign on it. Those that do, the majority probably don't know how important the stretch of beach they are standing on is to the everyday life across the world. Even less that they are only a few miles from one of the America's and Britain's most important and secretive intelligence operations. It might seem odd, but a surface paradise is also home to the cables that allow the modern economy to function. You may even be watching this video via one of those cables as I speak. Widmouth Bay is located in the county of Cornwall, near its border with Devon, in the southwest of the United Kingdom. The nearest major town is Bude, with a population of approximately 9,200 people. Other settlements nearby include Morwenstow, with a population of approximately 800 people, and Widmouth Bay itself, with a population of approximately 300. This population booms during the summer months, with an influx of tourists and surfers that on occasion, as a local and a local-come tourist, included me. The area is primarily known for tourism and surfing, with numerous world-renowned surfing beaches a short drive away, such as Newquay, Westward Ho, Croyd and Sandymouth. As a tourist, you've also got numerous tourist sites nearby or a day trip away. Off the top of my head, Dartmoor, Exmoor, the Lizard Peninsula, Flambard's Amusement Park, the Milky Way Amusement Park, or Rick Stein's Seafood Restaurant in Padstow. Heads up on that one, booking ahead is advised. How do I know this? As I said, I was once a local boy, and this video will include some you know if you're local facts. But before that, hashtag Devon is better than Cornwall. Now we've got the backstory and the local rivalry fun out the way, let's begin. In this video I'm taking you on a whistle-stop tour of 5 dark sites along this stretch of coast. It could have been 10 or more, but since I'm planning to cover rock posts, microwave mast and several abandoned Royal Air Force bases in detail in other videos, I've left most of the ones around this area out. So for the purpose of this video, enjoy the whistle-stop tour of some of the more interesting dark sites around a surfer's paradise. The wide, gentle beaches of Widmouth Bay and the beaches of Bude in general are home to numerous undersea data cables, buried 6 feet below the sand, with more set to be added in the future, currently either in the construction or planning phases. The Widmouth Bay area was chosen to 4 factors: its favourable geography, its proximity to the Gooney Hilly Earth Station, its proximity to GCHQ Bude, and it has a direct, relatively easy route out into the Atlantic Ocean for cables to North America and into the South Atlantic in general. Though not all the cables are still active, we will go through some of the more historic and interesting ones here. These undersea data cables are essential to the global economy, and the world as we know it can't function without them. It is why world governments spend so much time and effort trying to monitor, protect or cut them. It is why even small countries such as Ireland invest so much in the security of those cables. In Ireland's case, increasing defence spending to a record amount of €1.5 billion by 2028, a large portion of that being spent on improving the Irish Navy's ability to police its own waters and the island's Air Force to patrol them with new maritime patrol planes. Now, on to the meat and bones of today's episode. First off, TAT3, standing for Transatlantic Telephone. It was the third transatlantic telephone cable in operation between 1963 and 1986. It had 414 kHz of bandwidth, allowing it to carry 138 simultaneous telephone calls. With demand increasing by 500 calls a month at the time, it was desperately needed. It was approximately 6,515 kilometers, 4,048 miles long, connecting Widmouth Bay to Tuckerton, New Jersey in the United States. Its cost, approximately $12 million in 1960, roughly $293 million in today's money. Next up, Cantat 2. It was completed in 1974 and withdrawn from service in 1992, covering approximately 2,850 miles, 4,590 kilometres, between Beaver Harbour, Canada and Widmouth Bay. The work on the UK end of the cable involved an accident involving the Pisces 3 submersible, which sank off the Irish coast. The submersible sank in approximately 1,575 feet, 480 metres, of water, and was recovered with the crew alive after 76 hours on the seabed. Next up, TAT-8, the 8th transatlantic communications cable, and the first fibre optic cable on our list, capable of carrying 40,000 telephone calls. The cable lands in Tuckerton, New Jersey, and Penmarch, France, as well as Widmouth Bay. TAT-8 operated from 1998 until 2002. It was crucial in creating one of the first global links in the early internet between Cornell University and the CERN project in Europe in 1990, greatly increasing the connectivity between American and European portions of the early internet. Next up is TAT-12/13. This was the first ring cable system, consisting of the 12th and 13th transatlantic telephone cables, in operation between 1996 and 2008. All following transatlantic cable systems would use the ring system, but they only have one number, such as TAT-14. The cable connected Long Island, USA, Green Hill, Rhode Island, Porthcurno, UK, Penmarch, France, and Widmouth Bay in a circuit model. Next up, TAT-14. This was in operation from 2001 until 2020, connecting the United States, the United Kingdom, France, the Netherlands, Germany, and Denmark in a ring, which totaled roughly 15,428 kilometres or 9,587 miles of fibre optic cable. This cable had a troubled life, suffering 2 separate breaks in 2003, and never living up to its traffic potential due to the collapse of the dot-com bubble in the early and mid-2000s. This global overinvestment in transcontinental optical fibre capacity led to a financial crisis among many cable operators. Next up we have Apollo. This fibre optic cable runs in a loop from Widmouth Bay via Shirley, New York, and I apologise for the pronunciation of this one, Manasquin, New Jersey, and Lannion in France, covering approximately 13,000 kilometres and 8,077 miles. It is run by the Apollo Submarine Cable System Limited Company and has been in operation since 2006. Next up is the EIG, the European Indian Gateway. Opened in 2011, the EIG stretches for approximately 15,000 kilometres, 9,320 miles, and is a joint venture between 18 different companies with 12 separate landing points. The EIG is the first fibre optic cable linking Britain and India directly between the two nations. It has cable landing points in Portugal, Gibraltar, France, Monaco, Libya, Egypt, Saudi Arabia, Djibouti, Oman, and the United Arab Emirates. In 2013, it was the victim of a sabotage, believed to have been cut by divers near the Egyptian coast. Despite this, it has undergone an upgrade program in 2020, increasing its capacity to 24 terabytes a second of data. Next up, Globacom 1, or Glo 1, linking Britain to West Africa. Glo 1 is run by Nigeria's second biggest telecoms provider, with a capacity of approximately 2.5 terabytes a second. Its main landing points after leaving Widmouth Bay are Vigo in Spain, Sesimbra in Portugal, Casablanca, Morocco, Dakar, Senegal, Accra in Ghana, and Lagos in Nigeria. Operational since 2011, the cable system is approximately 6,090 miles long, or 9,800 kilometres. This particular cable, if you look closely enough, you may be able to see evidence, such as manhole covers right on the beach, of its cable landings near the lifeguard station on Widmouth Bay beach. Yellow, also known as AC2, due to different names attached to it under different operators, runs from Widmouth Bay to New York, totaling 6,400 kilometres or 3,976 miles of fibre optic cable. Wholly owned by CenturyLink after its acquisition of the Global Crossing, AC2 has been operating since the late 2000s and is capable of processing 640 gigabytes of information a second. Next up is Grace Hooper, owned by Google, linking Widmouth Bay with New York and Bilbao in Spain, totaling from New York to Europe approximately 12,550 kilometres, 7,998 miles of fibre optic cable. The USA to UK route went live in 2022 with speeds of 352 terabytes a second, less than 2 years after construction began. And if you can find it, there is an excellent video of them actually landing the cable near Bude on YouTube, and it's very interesting. And next up we have To Africa. This is perhaps the most ambitious scheme on this list. When completed, it will be circumnavigating the coastline of Africa to interconnect to Europe, India and the Middle East. It is funded by a consortium of companies including several telecommunications giants and the social media giant Meta. The ambitious goal is to help provide affordable global high-speed internet to roughly 36% of the planet's population. At over 45,000 kilometres, or 27,962 miles long, it is the longest sea-based fibre optic cable system ever deployed. Expected to go live sometime in 2024, the cable will have speeds in excess of 180 terabytes a second. But all these cables have to go somewhere. Now we enter the world of cable landing stations. These often unassuming buildings house the termination points of undersea fibre optic cables that carry the vast majority of international data traffic. The primary role of any cable landing station is to terminate submarine cables and provide the necessary infrastructure to connect them to land-based networks. They also monitor the health and performance of the cables for signs of damage or deterioration. They can also be used to monitor or intercept information travelling through the cable network. Construction of the Widmouth Bay cable landing station and telephone exchange began in 1962 and was finished during 1963 to accommodate the tap-free cable and link it to existing links back to London. Below ground, the building was constructed to withstand nuclear attack, having numerous specialised features including an air filtration system, 5-ton blast doors and backup power generators, allowing it to operate as an autonomous building for extended periods. The cable termination chamber itself featured earthing equipment due to the large amounts of power used by telecoms cables and a repeater system. I will cover this in more detail in a later video, but a repeater, simply put, is an electronic device that receives a signal, boosts its strength, and then retransmits it. The below-ground installations are extensive, as shown by aerial photos or Google image search. Though the site is nuclear hardened and in some sources it is described as a bunker, it is debatable if it is a true bunker. Yes, the cable termination facilities and the associated repeater were hardened, but the site was never intended to hold people for any real length of time. The above-the-ground portion was part of the Bude group of local telephone exchanges, including Bridgerell, Bude, Kilcampton, Morwenstow and Week St Mary. A telephone exchange, simply put, connects telephone subscriber lines, allowing for phone calls or data exchange. By the 1990s, the existing cable landing point was struggling as the demand for and complexity of the global telecoms network increased. By the 1990s, planning began to build a new cable landing station at Creethorne Farm, roughly a 4-mile or 4 minutes drive away further inland. The original cable landing station is now apparently disused. When I visited the site, it was no longer a totally secure location, though the telephone exchange itself was just about secure. Access to the underground sections proved impossible. You can easily just drive into the car park at the site and have a wander around. With a decent set of bolt cutters, you could probably get inside the telephone exchange or the landing station. Poor security is a theme you might see develop during this video. The new cable landing station at Creethorne Farm was built by Cable & Wireless in 2001 and is owned by Vodafone. Built behind the farm, just off the A39, linking the North Cornwall to North Devon to the national motorway network. Built initially for the Apollo cable, the size of the landing station was shown. It was always planned to install multiple cables, and in 2011, two further cables were brought in via Widmouth Bay, the Glow One and EIG, all previously mentioned. Like the original cable landing station, it has backup generators and other redundant systems to keep it online in the majority of eventualities. Though little information is available on how hardened the site is to survive a major conflict, while Google Maps and aerial images provide little clue to its underground footprint. In February 2018, the Sunday Times reported that the infrastructure for the UK landing site of Apollo and EIG was almost entirely unprotected. Their reporter was able to reach the premises without being challenged and found the door to the generator room unlocked and left ajar, before being confronted and asked to leave the site. Vodafone, who managed the facility, said that he had not reached any critical equipment and, to quote, would not have been able to interrupt the operation of the facility. The spokesman added that he had been seen within 4 minutes of approaching the periphery of the site, and that the levels of security would not have been visible to the reporter. But security at the site was given a substantial improvement, supposedly, meaning finding photos or getting access post-2018 is supposedly more difficult. Treskinnick Cross microwave mast was part of the BT microwave network, which we will cover in greater detail in a later video. Built during the 1970s, its original purpose was something of a mystery, since the sections that would allow it to connect to the national network were not completed until the 80s. But reading between the lines, Treskinnick Cross was within the eye line of the Widmouth Bay cable landing station. Modern developments may have obscured the view a bit, but they are within a short drive of each other. Other cables, as we know, arrived over the coming years, and the establishment of a microwave link to the rest of Britain seems to be a rare example of interconnected thinking from the British government, having additional, at the time modern capacity, established well in advance. Now, the modern antenna has mostly been taken over by the mobile phone network providers, such as Vodafone, though BT still own the site. Now, back to the regular theme of this episode, security. I visited this site after a good day's bodyboarding at Widmouth Bay during a holiday in my shorts, t-shirt and beach clogs. Finding this, well, yes viewers, that is a hole cut in the fence made with wire cutters, a short walk from the main entrance along an access path, which I assume is for Vodafone staff. Considering I was in beach attire that wasn't bramble-proof, I decided discretion was the better part of valour and didn't engage in the second most easy trespass in this video. If you know anyone at BT or Vodafone, please inform them because my emails have not been replied to. And now we move on to the main event of the video, GCHQ Bude, a surprisingly well signposted government top secret site. Similar to more famous sites abroad, which include Pine Gap in Australia, Sugar Grove Station in the USA, or Misawa Air Base in Japan. GCHQ Bude is located at the former RAF Cleve, just above Widmouth Bay, which was repurposed in 1969 to become what is now GCHQ Composite Signals Organisation Station Morwenstow. By the time GCHQ Bude was set up in 1969, the earliest submarine cables at Widmouth had already been landed. Between 1988 and 2011, several major cable links linking Britain to the US, Europe and West Africa landed at Widmouth as the internet exploded, ready to be tapped by GCHQ. Now, before we go back to the running theme of this video, security, what do they do at GCHQ Bude? GCHQ Bude is the single largest employer in the area, with at least 250 staff, and has top-level security for visitors, building contractors or delivery drivers. If you are not a staff member and need access to the site, let's say to deliver components, to do an electrician working on the site, you'll have to jump through many hoops. You'll be frisked. Your mobile phone will stay in a secure lockbox. Your delivery will be checked, and your delivery van will be checked as well. If you attempt to enter the site without a valid reason, You'll be entering a protected site for the purposes of Section 128 of the Serious Organised Crime Act and Police Act of 2005. The effect of the Act was to make it a specific criminal offence for a person to trespass onto the site. If you want to join the staff at GCHQ Bude, prepare for 9 months of security vetting, but you do get a gym and a restaurant boasting a sea view within the facility. The primary job of GCHQ Bude is to, and I quote, provide digital communications experts who play an important role in formulating the United Kingdom's response to issues involving national security, military operations, and serious crime. Now for the how. The station has 20 on-site satellite antennas for monitoring satellite data and communications, as well as links to the undersea cable network that runs into Cornwall, an operation known as Tempora. The station's job is essentially to analyse and provide intelligence after scouring through all this data. The site is operated by America's National Security Agency and GCHQ as part of the UK-USA agreement and as part of the Five Eyes, the UK, USA, Australia, Canada and New Zealand. These agreements allow the Five Allies to share the vast majority of signals intelligence the members gather between each other, though it is believed several other nations have varying levels of access to the intel the Five Eyes gather, such as Israel, for example. Now, the security issues of GCHQ Bude down the years. The station has been accused of everything, ranging from industrial espionage to eavesdropping on target charities, eavesdropping on the German government, and the Israeli Prime Minister. The biggest public security leak occurred when former National Security Agency contractor Edward Snowden leaked vast amounts of intelligence files and data, which revealed, amongst many other things, during 2013 the previously mentioned Operation Tempora. This opened a can of worms with several reports from Channel 4 and the BBC in the UK and WDR in Germany, all unveiling how GCHQ Bude tapped the fibre optic cables with the cooperation of the cable owners to a degree previously thought unimaginable. This so-called bulk hacking of data and the Pegasus scandal of 2021, where Israeli-made spyware had been bought by states around the world to spy on citizens, shows just how much information GCHQ and the Five Eyes harvest and processed every day. Now, if you want to learn more about submarine cables, GCHQ or anything else discussed in this video, YouTube has a vast array of promotional and educational videos, and I will link a few in the description because I've really only just scratched the surface with this video. Now, how would I rate this series of sites on the patented DarkSight scale from 0 to 10? It's only a 6. Though we know lots about some of it, other parts are an enigma, and I'd have rated higher if they had a few less security problems. This area, on the whole though, is not only vital to the modern economy, but also the foundation of the Western world security apparatus. Hope you liked the episode, and if you have any ideas for future episodes, please leave them in the comments. Now, don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and enjoy the rest of your day.